The season has begun. The first competitive session for the LMDh cars is now complete, and the grid is set for the upcoming Daytona 24-hour and the start of this year's IMSA GTP season. The 2023 edition of the Roar Before the 24 weekend of practice and qualifying is done. So now it's time to discuss what happened during this 3-day weekend to find out who's going to be lining up where on the grid for the Daytona 24-hour in 2023. So finally, we get our first taste of these LMDh prototypes competing on track against each other, as these new prototypes hit the track at Daytona a week before the 61st running of the Rolex 24. All 9 GTP entries took to the track for a total of 6 practice sessions and about a 20-minute qualifying session to set the grid for the first Daytona race with the GTP class since 1993. Tensions were high during the practice and qualifying session, and they're still high ahead of this upcoming event, as there's a bit of uncertainty in the air, as we don't really know what to expect from the LMDh entries as they come into their first race. The fact of the matter is, we got to see our first look at the competition of the new GTP class, as this will be the beginning for what should be another golden era in IMSA's history. And eventually, this potential golden age will expand to the WEC as well, as the new hybrid LMDh cars will make their debut at Sebring in just a few months. Okay, on to the qualifying report now, and what a session it truly was, the perfect way to start off the new GTP season. The 20 or so minute session started out kind of slow, with the Acuras first out on track, the number 10 WTR Acura going fastest overall. But eventually, the other teams started to come out, and around this time, the number 60 MSR Acura went into the pits, and because GTP is allowed to have tire changes, the MSR team was able to change the tires on the number 60 car. The session was then brought to a red flag after the surprising crash of the number 6 Porsche 963, driven by Nick Tandy. When the green flags finally came out, the teams only had one chance to improve on their position, making this final part of qualifying incredibly intense to see who would grab pole in the first ever GTP session of 2023. The number 7 Porsche, driven by Felipe Nasr, went fastest overall, but just after came the number 60 MSR Acura, driven by Tom Blomqvist, who produced a sensational lap to put Acura just 1/10 ahead of the number 7 Porsche. So the results for qualifying looked like this. Blomqvist brought the number 60 Acura to pole position, ahead of Nasr in the number 7. Ricky Taylor followed the Porsche, driving the WTR Acura to 3rd, completing the top 3. The 2 Chip Ganassi Cadillacs took 4th and 5th, just about 2 to 3 tenths away from the MSR Acura's time. They were followed by the number 6 Porsche. Tandy's previous lap before the crash was good enough for the top 6. Pipo Dorani brought the Action Express Cadillac to 7th, with the 2 BMWs rounding off the grid in 8th and 9th. I would also like to mention that the starting grid for GTP will look a little different than the results. Because the number 6 Porsche crashed, this means it will start at the back of the grid, elevating the 2 BMWs and the Action Express, making the grid lineup results look like this. So what have we learned from the practice and qualifying weekend ahead of the 2023 Daytona 24-hour? Well, one thing I can confidently say is that the competition is going to be insanely close in GTP this year. If you look at the qualifying results, all the cars were separated by 0.8 of a second. Tom Blomqvist set a 134.0, with the slowest time coming from Nick Yaloli, a 134.8 in the BMW. That is actually not too far of a gap, and that just shows that the competition is going to be pretty high this season. Qualifying and practice seem to indicate that Acura was the fastest car on track, and they definitely seem to have a very quick car this season. But I can't make any predictions right now. Getting a really good qualifying session doesn't automatically mean that you'll win the race, especially in a 24-hour event such as Daytona in the coming days. Sure, Acura looked really quick, they took pole position and were fastest in FP1 through FP4, but so do Porsche as well. You saw in qualifying they were just a 10th behind Acura, and then you look at Cadillac, the 2 Chip Ganassis were just 2 to 3 tenths behind the pole-sitting Acura. So honestly, anybody could win this race. That's how close the competition is this year, and I'm all for it. So there you have it. The Roar Before the 24 weekend is done, and GTP qualifying is complete for the first round of this year's IMSA season. Next week, we will see Porsche, BMW, Acura, and Cadillac compete for the win in the 61st running of the 24 Hours of Daytona. What did you think about that qualifying session for GTP? And what are you most looking forward to in the 2023 Rolex 24? As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more updates and content on the LMDh and LMH prototypes and everything related to IMSA and the WEC, please make sure to subscribe to the left. And if you want to see another video right now, click the suggested video to the right of your screen. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.